And welcome to video number 2 in my Lasa how-to series. This is the shawl here that we're going to be working up using, of course, my Fibre Space Gleam lace in colourway Heavenly, which it certainly is. And I'm going to introduce you right now to the charts that I use on my patterns. You will get, of course, all of this info in the pattern itself in its full, but this is a shortened version of it just to give you an idea of what you're looking at. So what we need here to focus on is basically underneath row 1. This is our foundation row here. We've got 21 white squares. 16 of them are corralled within our repeating section here. Now that repeating section repeats a few times over, each time giving us one of these little V shapes here. So the more repeats you do, the wider your shawl will be and the more V's you'll have along each row. In this case, I'm only going to do one so that we're not here all day. You'll get the idea, and it's easy enough to repeat thereafter on that. So as I say, we've got 21 squares here. We would create an extra chain at the start and the end. So what I'm going to do here is do 23 chains to begin with this teaching yarn. This is slightly thicker than the yarn I used for the shawl itself, so we should be able to see it a bit better on camera. Bearing in mind, of course, crocheters, I'm probably going to boggle some of your minds. I crochet like a left-handed knitter or something like that. I'm not quite entirely sure. You can, of course, hold your yarn the correct way and yarn over the same way. It's the same yarn over that I use. It's no different just because I'm stirring the pot with my other hand. So don't freak out. Your yarn overs will work exactly the way you've learned them. Nothing to worry about there. So I'm going to do 23 of these in total. And of course, because I am currently talking, I have entirely lost count. So I'm going to keep going and distract you with talking until I'm sure I'm close. And then we'll do a bit of a recount here. If I do too many, I can always pull back. It's never an issue. So just counting practice, I'm going to ignore the loop on my hook, not a stitch, but the V directly below is, the one I have my nail on there is. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. I need 23. So close. Yeah, okay, so 23 done there in its entirety. Now our foundation row, as I say, is all white squares. So that, for those of you who've done Tunisian before, that's just a row of Tunisian simple stitch in my chart parlance. So what I'm going to do here is to focus on the loops on my hook. If I get my phone to focus. Your phone, there we go. All right, now we see you. So again, ignoring the loop on my hook and ignoring the very first chain below, and I'm going to focus on the second one. I'm going to pop my hook through that second loop. I'm going to do my yarn over. Again, people who hold your yarn in your left hand, yarn over normally. It's no different, I promise you. Draw a loop through, and you'll have 2 loops on your hook like so. And we're going to repeat that for every chain down. So you can see this is the one we've used. It's the one that's gotten a bit bigger. So the next one along here, that I've got my nail beside, I'm going to pop in here. Yarn over, draw through. Next one. Next one. All the way down. And this, when I'm teaching people how to do Tunisian for the first time, this is the point where they all start wondering if I've actually tricked a bunch of crocheters into coming to a knitting class, because it starts looking suspiciously like knitting. But it is, you know, it's similar enough. I mean, this is basically picking up a knitting. If you're working on the edge of a piece of knitting, this is exactly what you're doing. You're just struggling with a knitting needle instead of using the crochet hook to pull the yarn through. So I'm just picking up a loop in every single chain all the way down. So if you're counting, because you've done 23 chains, you should end up with 23 loops. Of course, the pattern itself, if you're doing the full width, has quite a few more chains, and your hook will be a lot busier than this one currently is. The stopper or the elastic band at the end tends to be of a help. Now for the body, because we've nothing to work into, we are creating a piece of independent fabric which will fall down from your hook, similar to how a piece of knitting would as well. So in this case, we've got our forward pass done. We need to do our return pass. And to do that, we go yarn over, pull through 1 loop, and then repeatedly go yarn over through 2 until we're done. So we go yarn over through 1 loop like so. And it's yarn over through 2 until we're all the way down. And of course, every time you yarn over, you're adding 1, but every time you pull through 2, you're subtracting 2. So you're reducing by 1 every time you do this action. Yarn over through 2, yarn over through 2. And as you work, you're creating this piece of fabric. And you see those little lines on it? Like little posts, or like little rungs of a ladder is what I like to see them as, because that's the way I view the fabric. So each one of those is a yarn over through 2 that you have completed successfully. Careful when you're doing this, because it is easy, especially at the start, quite tricky. You can quite easily go yarn over through 3 or yarn over through 1 and end up just running on the spot and creating a big loop of chains in the middle of your work. So do keep an eye on that and take your time. You don't have to rush. I'm only rushing because I'm trying to get to the next bit for you guys. There we go. All right, so there we go. We've got our foundation row complete. We have a piece of crochet done. If I were to look at the surface of my work, just for a bit of anatomy, the V you normally expect, traditional crocheters, the V you expect on top of your stitches, that's actually on the right if you're right-handed. It's on the left if you're left-handed and you're working that away with your hook. So that's the little V there on top of your stitch you would normally see. But in this case, it's on the side. And every single yarn over through 2, as I say, has created these little lines. So if I was to count, I would have 23 all the way down, that being the last one there. And then we have our chain. Our yarn over through 1 we did at the start has created this chain, which we will use to anchor this side of the very next row along, which I will get to, including all those exciting looking symbols on row 1 in the next video. So I hope you do join me. Thanks a million for watching.